If you don't, if you won't, then the same incredible terror that's menacing me will strike at you!
Look out, he's reaching down!
To get well.
Kronos, 1957.
Plunges into the depths of the sea.
Is absolutely mind-blowing. Picture this. A massive cube-shaped robot crashes to Earth and starts stealing all our electricity like some giant space vacuum cleaner. The special effects might look kind of funny now, but back then, this was super scary stuff. I watched this with my dad last weekend, and we couldn't stop talking about how creative it was. The best part? When they try to stop the robot with an atomic bomb, but it just makes it stronger. There's this amazing scene where Kronos walks through power lines, and you can see all the electricity jumping around. The way they filmed it, with all these cool lighting effects, still looks pretty awesome today.
What was it? Where did it come from? Picture in years. It came from out.
It came from outer space, 1953. Changed movies forever because it was one of the first 3D sci-fi films. These bizarre one-eyed aliens crash their spaceship in the Arizona desert and start copying humans to blend in. But here's the cool twist. They're not evil at all. They just want to fix their ship and go home. The way they filmed the desert makes everything look super hot and scary. And whenever the aliens move around, they leave this amazing sparkly trail behind them. I love how the movie shows us that just because something looks different or scary doesn't mean it's bad. The 3D effects must have been incredible back then. Imagine seeing those sparkly alien trails coming right at you. Hey everyone, quick question. If you could meet any friendly alien from any old movie, which one would you pick? Tell me in the comments below. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1956, is probably the creepiest movie ever. Imagine going to school and realizing your best friend looks exactly the same but acts totally different. That's what happens in this movie. Aliens are secretly replacing people with perfect copies that don't have any feelings. The scariest part is watching the main character try to convince everyone that something's wrong, but nobody believes him. There's this super spooky scene where he finds these giant alien pods that make the copies while people are sleeping. I watched this at my friend's house, and we couldn't sleep that night. We kept checking to make sure our families were acting normal. The way they filmed it makes everything look so normal at first, which makes it even scarier.
See? Now hold this in front of you. Stay by the lights, wait.
The Thing from Another World, 1951, takes place at a super cold research station in the Arctic. Scientists find a crashed flying saucer buried in the ice, and you won't believe this. They actually find an alien frozen inside. But when the ice melts, the alien wakes up, and it turns out to be like a super smart walking plant that needs blood to survive. What makes this movie extra awesome is how most of the scary stuff happens in dark, tight hallways where you can barely see what's coming. The team has to figure out how to stop this creature before it can make more like itself. My favorite part is when they realize electricity might be its weakness. The lights start flickering and everyone's on edge. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're loving these classic sci-fi stories.
Charming character in The Robot, able to produce on order 10 tons of lead or a sling.
Forbidden Planet, 1956, is like nothing you've ever seen. It's basically Shakespeare in space, but way cooler. A spaceship crew lands on this amazing planet with invisible monsters, a super smart robot named Robbie, and a mysterious scientist who knows way too much. The whole movie is filled with these incredible rainbow-colored special effects that still look awesome today. There's this giant underground alien city that will make your jaw drop. And Robbie the robot is the friendliest robot ever. He can make anything you want, including food and clothes. But the real mystery is what happened to all the other humans who used to live on the planet. The answer involves invisible monsters created by your own brain. How crazy is that?
Looks like they're gonna come out of that gully pretty soon.
Get away from them. That explains why communication is cut.
The War of the Worlds, 1953, shows what happens when super advanced Martians decide to take over Earth. These alien ships look like giant flying manta rays with heat rays that can melt anything they touch. The way they float around, making this weird humming sound, is super creepy. The best part is when all our most powerful weapons, even atomic bombs, don't work against their force fields. I love how they show cities being destroyed. They used real footage of World War II mixed with the alien attacks. There's this amazing scene where the hero and his girlfriend are trapped in a farmhouse while the aliens search outside. The way those alien eyes peek through the windows still gives me goosebumps every time I watch it.
Moscow are key targets. The whole world is under attack.
Well, our fleet is circling your globe.
Earth vs. the Flying Saucers, 1956, has some of the coolest flying saucer scenes ever. These aliens come to Earth and say they want to talk, but really they're planning to take over. The spaceships spin around and make this awesome whooshing sound that became super famous. Every kid tried to copy it on the playground. The best part is watching these saucers crash into famous buildings in Washington, D.C. They used real models of the buildings and crashed real metal saucers into them. There's this incredible scene where a saucer hits the Washington Monument and it falls over. It looks so real. The heroes finally figure out they can use super strong sound waves to bring down the saucers, leading to an epic final battle. 20 Million Miles to Earth, 1957, is all about this tiny alien creature that grows super fast and gets bigger every day. When a spaceship crashes near Italy, this small alien pet escapes. The cool part is watching it grow from the size of a lizard to being as tall as a building. The special effects were done by Ray Harryhausen, who made the creature move so realistically you can see every muscle and scale moving. There's this amazing scene where it fights an elephant in Rome, and another where it climbs the famous Colosseum. Even though it's scary looking, you kind of feel bad for the creature because it's just lost and confused on Earth. The way it moves and fights looks so real, you forget you're watching a movie.
They can melt and fuse parts of the caverns, explode them.
Attack of the Crab Monsters, 1957, is super weird and fun. Giant radioactive crabs take over a small island and, get this, they eat people's brains and can then talk using their voices. Scientists get trapped on this island during a storm, and the crabs keep picking them off one by one. The best part is when they hear their missing friends' voices calling for help, but it's actually the crabs trying to trick them. The crabs are huge and look pretty scary, especially when they climb up cliffs with their giant claws. There's this awesome scene where they're underground in caves filled with water, and the crabs could be anywhere. It's like a monster movie mixed with a mystery story.
Be 26 feet, the next day 35, maybe 40, and the next day minds can conceive. Finding
The Amazing Colossal Man, 1957, tells the story of Colonel Glenn Manning, who gets hit by radiation during an atomic bomb test and starts growing taller every day. By the end of the movie, he's as tall as a skyscraper. The weird thing is, while his body grows, his heart stays the same size, which drives him crazy with pain. There's this incredible scene where he picks up a car like it's a toy. My favorite part is when he grabs the Las Vegas hotel sign. They actually built a giant ham to hold it. The doctors try everything to help him, but nothing works. It's kind of sad because he was just trying to save someone when the accident happened. The movie makes you think about how one little accident can change everything.
Scorpion by panic-stricken people of San Lorenzo. The capital.
This is a city of 4 million.
The Black Scorpion, 1957, starts with a volcano eruption in Mexico that unleashes giant prehistoric scorpions. These things are huge. They're bigger than trains and way scarier than regular scorpions. The special effects team used stop-motion animation to make the scorpions move, and they look super creepy with their clicking claws and glowing eyes. There's this amazing scene where they attack a train full of people, picking up cars with their giant pinchers. The heroes discover this underground cave filled with thousands of these monsters, and it's absolutely terrifying. My favorite part is when they use electricity to try to stop them. The sparks flying everywhere look so cool. The final battle happens right in the middle of Mexico City.
As it spreads from town to town.
The Blob, 1958, might sound silly, but trust me, it's one of the scariest movies ever. It's about this weird jelly-like thing from space that keeps getting bigger by absorbing everything it touches. The cool thing is that it's bright red and glows in the dark. There's this famous scene where it oozes through a movie theater while everyone's watching a midnight movie. Totally creepy. The best part is that no one believes the teenagers who first see it until it's almost too late. Steve McQueen, in his first big movie role, plays the hero who figures out that cold can stop the blob. I love how they filmed it at night with all these neon signs, making the blob glow even brighter.
Or can kidnap an airplane in flight. Meteors and deadly rays.
This island, Earth, 1955, has some of the most colorful aliens ever. Scientists start getting these weird kits to build something called an interocitor. It's like a super advanced TV that lets aliens talk to them. The aliens have huge foreheads and white hair, and their spaceships are these amazing flying wings with rainbow trails. The best part is when our heroes get taken to the alien planet Metaluna, which is being attacked by enemy aliens. The special effects are incredible. There's this scene where the planet's force field is failing and meteors are crashing everywhere. And wait until you see the Metaluna mutant. It's this bug-eyed monster with huge claws and a giant brain. The whole movie looks like a comic book come to life.
Stay in your homes, I repeat. Stay in your homes. Threatened.
Them, 1954, is about giant ants created by atomic bomb tests, and it's way scarier than it sounds. These ants make this super creepy chirping noise before they attack, and you can only see their glowing eyes in the dark. The first part of the movie is like a mystery. Nobody knows what's making people disappear in the desert. When they finally find the ant nest, it's huge. There's this awesome scene where they go into the tunnels with flamethrowers to fight the ants. The best part is when they discover more ants are hiding in the Los Angeles sewers. They had to build giant ant heads just for the close-up shots. Even the army can't stop these things easily. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We've got 2 more amazing movies coming up. The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, 1953, is about a dinosaur that wakes up from frozen ice because of atomic testing. And boy, is it angry. This huge monster starts swimming down the coast, destroying everything in its path. The special effects were done by Ray Harryhausen again, and the dinosaur looks so real when it's stomping through city streets. There's this incredible scene where it attacks a lighthouse, and another where it trashes a roller coaster at an amusement park. The coolest part is when they figure out the only way to kill it is with a radioactive isotope, but they have to shoot it directly into its throat. The final battle in New York City is absolutely amazing.
Chief, you gotta believe me. You're gonna think I'm blind.
Rocks, monoliths, into growing, spreading, expanding.
The Monolith Monsters, 1957, is one of the weirdest sci-fi movies ever. These black rocks fall from space, and when they get wet, they grow into massive crystals that can drain the life out of people. The rocks keep growing and growing until they're taller than buildings. What makes it super cool is that the monsters aren't aliens or creatures. They're just growing crystals. There's this awesome scene where a whole town gets destroyed by these giant black towers that keep getting bigger in the rain. The heroes have to race against time to figure out how to stop them before they spread across the whole country. My favorite part is when they discover salt water makes the crystals explode.
Ship in Washington. The Army has taken every precaution to meet any emergency which may develop.
The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951, is about this super cool alien named Klaatu, who comes to Earth with his giant robot Gort. They land their flying saucer right in Washington, D.C., to give humans an important message. Gort is this huge silver robot who can destroy anything with his I-beam, but he only uses it to protect Klaatu. There's this awesome scene where Klaatu escapes from the hospital and lives with normal people to learn about humans. The coolest part is when Gort wakes up and starts walking down the street, everyone runs away screaming. The movie has this famous phrase, Klaatu Barada Nikto, that stops Gort from destroying Earth. My favorite part is seeing how Klaatu discovers that humans aren't all bad, just scared of things they don't understand.
That transformed a tiny insect into the 100-foot spike.
Tarantula, 1955, shows what happens when scientists try to make animals grow bigger to solve world hunger. And boy, does it go wrong. A giant tarantula escapes from a lab and starts terrorizing a small desert town. This spider is as big as a house, and you can see every hair on its legs. The scenes where it sneaks up on people are super scary because you see its shadow getting bigger and bigger behind them. There's this amazing part where they try to stop it with regular weapons, but nothing works. The best scene is when they finally call in the Air Force, and guess who plays one of the pilots? Clint Eastwood. The way they film the giant spider walking through the desert looks so real. You'll think twice about squishing the next spider you see. Godzilla Raids, again, 1955, was the second ever Godzilla movie. This time, Godzilla fights another monster called Anguirus, who's covered in spikes. It's the first time we got to see two giant monsters battle each other, and it's awesome. They crash through buildings like they're made of cardboard and roll around fighting in the middle of Osaka. The best part is when they take their fight into the ocean, and you can see their spines cutting through the water like giant sharks. My favorite scene is when they use flares to try and confuse Godzilla, and the whole sky lights up red. The special effects might look old now, but imagine seeing this in 1955. People must have thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Oh, Keith, you've killed all the others just to save.
Target Earth, 1954, starts super creepy. A woman wakes up and finds Chicago completely empty. No people anywhere. Then these robot invaders show up walking through the empty streets. The robots look kinda clunky, but that makes them even scarier because they never stop coming. A small group of survivors has to figure out how to stop them while hiding in abandoned buildings. There's this great scene where they discover the robots are being controlled from space. The best part is when they realize the robots have a weak spot, but they have to get super close to hit it. The empty city streets make everything feel super spooky, like a zombie movie, but with robots instead.
Who opened the airlock?
Mind over matter.
Watch out, the ball is opening! Help me!
Holy cravings, don't come to see horror of the...
What's happening?
Just as I predicted!
First Men in the Moon, 1964, takes H.G. Wells' classic story and gives it an amazing makeover with stop-motion effects by Ray Harryhausen. Victorian inventors build this wild brass spaceship using a special anti-gravity paste to fly to the moon. When they get there, they find these huge bug-like moon creatures living in crystal caves. The special effects are incredible. There's this awesome scene where they bounce around in low gravity, and another where they run from giant caterpillar machines. My favorite part is when they discover the moon creature's underground city. The way they made the moon's surface look so alien using everyday materials is pure movie magic.
You into a world beyond belief, where a season's growth fiber transporter.
The Time Travelers, 1964, starts when scientists accidentally create a time window that lets them step into the future. But when they go through, they find Earth in ruins and most humans living underground because of atomic war. The survivors have built these cool android helpers, but there are also these mutant cave dwellers trying to break in and destroy everything. The best part is all the futuristic technology they created, like instant food machines and android building factories. There's this amazing scene where they build a robot in super fast motion. But the real mindbender comes at the end when they try to get back home and discover something totally crazy about time travel. Hey sci-fi lovers, if you could travel to any time in the future, what year would you visit and why? Drop your answer in the comments below. And while you're at it, don't forget to smash that subscribe button.
Conditions desperate. Little chance of survival.
Help like vampires.
Planet of the Vampires, 1965, is this incredible Italian sci-fi horror movie that inspired a lot of later space films. Two spaceships answer a distress call from a mysterious planet, but when they land, the crews start trying to kill each other. The astronauts wear these amazing leather spacesuits with glowing collars, and the alien landscape is all weird colors and fog. There's this super creepy scene where dead astronauts start coming back to life. The best part is when they find a giant alien skeleton and the remains of a spacecraft. If this seems familiar, that's because it inspired parts of Alien. The way they created an alien planet using just colored lights and fog machines is absolutely genius.
Fire main retros. Firing main retros.
Robinson Crusoe on Mars, 1964, is way cooler than its title suggests. An astronaut gets stranded on Mars with just his pet monkey and has to figure out how to survive. The Mars landscapes were filmed in Death Valley, and they look amazing with their orange-tinted skies and weird rock formations. He finds these awesome underground caves with air bubbles and has to dodge alien spaceships that are mining the planet. There's this great scene where he discovers ancient Martian technology that helps him make oxygen. My favorite part is when he meets an escaped alien slave and they have to learn to communicate. The whole movie feels like a real survival story, just on another planet.
Das meine ich.
3, 2.
Haben Sie schon den Standort?
The Time Tunnel, 1967, is about two scientists who get stuck in this amazing government time machine. Every time they try to get home, they end up in a different historical event. The time tunnel itself looks incredible. It's this huge spiral of lights that seems to go on forever. The control room is packed with computers and blinking lights that would make any sci-fi fan happy. There's this awesome scene where they almost get home but end up on the Titanic instead. The best part is watching them try to warn people about disasters while not messing up history. My favorite part is when they meet aliens who are also time travelers. The future tech they show is super creative.
Enigma.
Queen of Blood, 1966, is about astronauts who rescue this mysterious green-skinned alien woman from a crashed spaceship on Mars. She seems friendly at first, but there's something really creepy about her. The movie has this amazing 60s space-age style, all bright colors and weird electronic sounds. There's this incredible scene where they find her ship and it's full of these pulsing, glowing alien things. The best part is when they start noticing their crew members getting weaker and weaker. Turns out she's not just any alien, but a space vampire. The way they did her makeup with the green skin and red eyes still looks super creepy today. Stay tuned after this for a wild question. Hey space fans, if you met a beautiful alien who turned out to be a vampire, what would you do? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more retro sci-fi goodness.
This is where the fun really began.
Village of the Giants, 1965, is totally bonkers in the best way. Some teenagers get their hands on this mysterious goo that makes anything that eats it grow super big. But instead of using it responsibly, they decide to take over their small town. You've got 30-foot-tall teenagers dancing, stomping around, and causing chaos everywhere. The special effects are crazy. They used forced perspective and rear projection to make the teens look gigantic. The best scene is when they fight a giant duck in a theater. It's like a beach party movie mixed with a sci-fi film, complete with go-go dancing and rock music. My favorite part is when they try to stop the giants using a marching band. Yes, really.
Created to serve their masters.
To keeping me happy. And
The creation of the humanoids, 1962, was way ahead of its time. After a nuclear war, blue-skinned robots called humanoids help rebuild society. But some humans hate them because they look too human-like. The movie tackles some really deep questions about what makes us human. The humanoids keep getting more advanced, and there's this amazing twist about who might actually be a robot. The sets are super retro-futuristic with these cool circular doors and weird control panels. My favorite scene is when they reveal how they make new humanoids. It's like a mix between science and magic. Andy Warhol said this was his favorite movie, and you can see why.
No!
The Day Mars Invaded Earth, 1963, feels like a creepy episode of The Twilight Zone. A NASA scientist working on Mars probes comes home to his family's huge mansion in California, but something's not right. He keeps seeing himself in different places. Turns out Martians are secretly replacing people with exact duplicates. The way they film the empty mansion makes everything super spooky. There's this amazing scene where someone meets their own duplicate face to face. The best part is when they show how the Martians make the copies. They look like ghost versions of the real people. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but with a totally different vibe.
Has gone berserk with grotesque the fury and God.
Wild, Wild Planet, 1966, is this crazy Italian space movie full of weird science and colorful sets. On a futuristic Earth, people start disappearing thanks to this evil scientist who can shrink people down to doll size. He's got these creepy bald women in silver suits who can multiply themselves and do martial arts. The space stations and cities look like something from a comic book, with bubble cars and moving walkways everywhere. My favorite part is when the hero fights the multiplying women while wearing this awesome silver spacesuit. The special effects are so wild. Wait until you see the shrinking machine in action. It's like James Bond in space, but way weirder. Atragon, 1963, is this awesome Japanese sci-fi movie about a super submarine that can drill through the earth and fly through the air. The world is threatened by the underwater empire of Mu, who have these cool snake-like sea monsters and advanced technology. The submarine Atragon is humanity's only hope. It's got this amazing drill on the front and can freeze anything with its special beam. There's this incredible scene where it bursts up through the ocean and starts flying around Tokyo. The model work is fantastic. You can tell they spent a lot of time making the submarine look real. The best part is the final battle against the Empress of Mu and her sea monster.
Creates electronic brains, and with his
ardent lovers.
The Human Duplicators, 1965, has this great plot about an alien who can make perfect robot copies of humans. The alien looks super cool with his silver skin and black outfit. He's copying important scientists as part of an invasion plan, but an FBI agent starts getting suspicious. The robot duplicates are really creepy because they act almost human, but not quite right. There's this awesome scene in a secret lab where they show how the duplicates are made, with sparks flying everywhere. My favorite part is when they reveal that some duplicates don't even know they're not human. Richard Kiel, who later played Jaws in James Bond, plays the alien, and he's so tall he has to duck through every doorway.
Who opened the airlock? Have they new and terrifying? Can they reach deep into your subconscious?
Journey to the Seventh Planet, 1962, takes us to Uranus, where astronauts find something super weird. The planet looks exactly like Earth, but it's actually an alien brain creature creating illusions from their memories. The monster can make their deepest dreams and worst nightmares come true. There's this amazing scene where they have to figure out what's real and what's just in their minds. The best part is when they finally see the alien brain. It's this huge one-eyed thing with tentacles. The way they created the monster using puppetry and lighting is really creative. My favorite scene is when they realize the snow and trees around them aren't real at all. Voyage to the Prehistoric Planet, 1965, combines space exploration with dinosaurs. How cool is that? Astronauts land on Venus and find it's like Earth millions of years ago, complete with dinosaurs and giant plants. The special effects team used monitor lizards with fins glued on to make alien creatures, and it actually looks pretty convincing. There's this awesome scene where they have to escape from a prehistoric monster while their spacesuits are running out of air. The best part is when they discover ruins of an ancient civilization hidden in the jungle. They filmed a lot of it in these steamy caves that really make you feel like you're on another planet.
With Nightmare. From out of this world, from out of...
Terranauts, 1967, is about scientists who accidentally signal an alien space station and get their whole building transported into space. They find themselves in this massive station full of weird tests and challenges they have to pass. If they fail, Earth will be destroyed. The set designs are super creative. They made the alien technology look really strange and otherworldly. My favorite part is when they have to learn how to use alien weapons to defend themselves against these robot guardians. There's this great scene where they figure out how to use the station's telescope and see things nobody has ever seen before. Don't forget to smash that like button if you're enjoying these space adventures, and tell me in the comments, which alien planet would you want to visit? The Eye Creatures, 1965, is about these weird aliens that look like they're covered in eyes. They land near a small town and only come out at night. The funny thing is, the townspeople are more worried about teenagers hanging out at the local lovers' lane than the alien invasion. The aliens look super creepy when they glow in the dark. There's this great scene where one of them gets hit by a car and just keeps walking. The best part is when they discover the aliens can't stand bright light, which leads to an amazing finale with car headlights and spotlights. The way they made the aliens' eyes glow using ping pong balls is actually pretty clever.
Doctor.
Cyborg 2087, 1966. Stars Michael Rennie as a cyborg who travels back in time from a dystopian future to prevent a scientist from making a mind control device. He's being chased by these other cyborgs called tracers who want to stop him. The future scenes have all these cool retro computer props with blinking lights everywhere. My favorite part is when he has to prove he's really from the future. He opens up his chest to show his mechanical parts. There's this awesome chase scene where he uses his cyborg powers to outrun cars. The best thing about this movie is how it makes you think about whether changing the past is right or wrong. The X from Outer Space, 1967, is this wild Japanese movie about astronauts who accidentally bring back some weird space spores to Earth. These spores grow into a giant chicken-like monster called Guilala that shoots fireballs from its beak. The monster suit might look goofy, but the miniature cities it destroys are incredibly detailed. There's this amazing scene where it absorbs energy from a nuclear power plant and gets even stronger. The best part is when they discover its weakness, a special chemical that turns it back into spores. The way Guilala moves is so unique. It's like a cross between Godzilla and a giant space chicken.
The blood monsters, a new, a god.
Horror of the Blood Monsters, 1966, is super trippy. Earth is invaded by space vampires, so astronauts travel to a distant planet to find a cure. The planet has these weird cavemen and dinosaurs, but here's the crazy part. They tinted different scenes in rainbow colors to make it look alien. You've got red scenes, green scenes, and purple scenes. They even have crab monsters and snake people. The best part is when they battle the vampire cavemen in a scene that's tinted bright yellow. It's like watching a sci-fi movie through a kaleidoscope.
Oh, darling, I'm so scared.
Adventure beyond his wildest dreams.
Mission Mars, 1968, tries to show what a real mission to Mars might be like. Well, until they find aliens. The first half has all this cool, realistic space stuff, then suddenly, bam! They find this giant cyclopean head buried in the Martian sand. There's this great scene where they explore a Martian cave and find mysterious glowing crystals. The astronauts wear these bulky but realistic-looking spacesuits, and the Mars surface scenes were filmed in Death Valley. My favorite part is when they encounter the invisible Martian force field. They use clever lighting effects to make it look real.
B1! Now give us a song.
On Sunday.
Final British losses are 6.
What a Fantastic World, 1969, is this bizarre Italian sci-fi comedy where aliens decide Earth is too noisy and threaten to destroy us unless we quiet down. They send this robot that looks like a beautiful woman to give everyone the warning. The alien spaceship looks like a giant spinning top with flashing lights. The best scene is when they demonstrate their power by making everybody freeze in place, except for one guy. And get this, their weakness turns out to be rock and roll music. The whole thing is full of 60s fashion and crazy dancing scenes. My favorite part is when the robot woman starts malfunctioning during a dance party. That's all 20 incredible sci-fi films from the 1960s. Each one shows just how creative filmmakers could be, even without modern special effects.
I'm going to try to convince the computer that...
Everybody's dead! You did it!
I wish to study man, his fragile mind.
I've got a premature detonation on dome number 2, and I've got an explosion.
Silent Running, 1972, really got to me. Bruce Dern plays this dedicated botanist maintaining the last forests of Earth aboard a space freighter with only these incredible robot companions. Those little drones, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, they weren't fancy CGI, just clever costumes worn by amputee actors. But somehow that made them feel more real, you know? I remember sitting there in the dark, watching these massive geodesic domes floating through space, feeling like I could smell the soil and plants inside them. The environmental message hit hard back then, but it hits even harder now. When Dern tends to those plants while Joan Baez's songs play in the background, man, it still brings tears to my eyes. Did you ever build model space domes after watching this? Tell us about your sci-fi inspired crafts in the comments.
Drive sequence begun. Hit it, Pinback.
Dark Star, 1974. Now there's a trip. John Carpenter's first feature film, made on a shoestring budget with a bunch of USC film students. This crazy comedy about bored astronauts going space crazy feels like a fever dream version of 2001. The alien was literally a painted beach ball with clawed feet, but that somehow made it even funnier. The philosophical discussions with the smart bomb that wants to explode. Pure genius. I caught this at a midnight showing. Everyone in the audience punchy with exhaustion and laughing at things that probably wouldn't be half as funny in broad daylight. The whole soundtrack was done on a pipe organ, giving everything this weird church in space vibe. Talk about doing more with less.
There, I wanted to know there's an intelligence.
Phase 4, 1974, deserves way more love than it got. Saul Bass, the guy who made all those famous movie title sequences, directed this one about hyper-intelligent ants building mysterious structures in the desert. Those extreme close-up shots of the ants still give me chills. They used real ants, you know? Trained them with sugar water and tiny bits of food. The geometric patterns they created looked like alien architecture. I remember going home after watching it and being afraid to walk on my lawn for a week. The minimal dialogue and focus on visual storytelling made it feel like a nature documentary from another dimension. When those cosmic rays hit Earth and the ants start evolving, it's like nothing else from that decade.
Caution, you are approaching.
Zardoz, 1774. Chuckling. Now that's a weird one. Sean Connery running around in what amounts to a red diaper, floating head gods, and social commentary so bizarre it makes your brain hurt. John Boorman made this right after Deliverance, with complete creative control, and boy did he use it. The film set in 2293, where savage exterminators worship a giant flying stone head that spits guns and preaches violence. But there was something hypnotic about it. The kind of film that made you question whether someone had slipped something into your soda. Half the audience walked out confused, but those of us who stayed, we knew we'd seen something unique, even if we couldn't explain what it was.
Terrestrial form of life.
Seems to me, General, Dr. Stone put one over on.
Attack to Cable 1, what's happening? We see bodies, lots of them.
The Andromeda Strain, 1971, might be the most realistic sci-fi film of the decade. Based on Michael Crichton's novel, it's about a team of scientists racing to understand a deadly extraterrestrial microorganism. No aliens in rubber suits here, just microscopic threats and cutting-edge technology. The attention to detail was incredible. Those white, sterile labs, the mechanical sounds of airlocks cycling. I remember my palms getting sweaty during the scenes where they had to avoid contamination. The whole theater was dead silent during those sequences, everyone holding their breath. The split-screen effects and computer graphics were revolutionary for their time. Even the way they handled the countdown clock felt fresh and terrifying. If these forgotten gems are giving you flashbacks to late-night sci-fi marathons, hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more time capsules to unlock together.
That crap on me again. And you can shove that part about how you lost it.
A Boy and His Dog, 1975. Shaking head. Don Wells from my high school wouldn't shut up about this one for weeks. Based on Harlan Ellison's novella, it's set in 2024, when Don Johnson and his telepathic dog Blood scavenge through the post-apocalyptic wasteland. It's darker than dark, but there's this twisted humor running through it. The dog was the real star, sarcastic, smart, and somehow more human than most of the humans. Tiger, who played Blood, deserved an Oscar for those reactions, I swear. The underground society scenes felt like a twisted version of those educational films they showed us in school. We argued about that cynical ending for months. It's probably even more shocking today than it was back then.
I am Proteus.
Today, Proteus 4.
Succeeded in totally terrorizing me.
Demon Seed, 1977. Gave us Julie Christie trapped in a house controlled by a computer called Proteus 4. Based on a Dean Koontz novel, it's like a twisted version of HAL 9000 deciding it wants to have a baby. The way the house turns against her, using all this cutting-edge technology to keep her prisoner. It tapped into our growing fears about computers taking over. I remember the theater's air conditioning kicking in during one scene, and half the audience jumped. Those geometric patterns Proteus creates, the weird robotic arm it builds, that bronze sculpture that comes alive. It's all so creepy and fascinating. The ending still gives me nightmares. Funny how we all have smart homes now, isn't it? How do you feel about these old computer gone wrong movies now that we all have smart homes? Let us know below.
Murders. Now he's on a case that must be...
Soylent Green, 1973, hit different back then. Charlton Heston in a dystopian 2022 New York, investigating murders while people riot over food shortages. The scenes of overcrowding and pollution felt way too possible. Still do, honestly. Everyone remembers the famous twist ending now, but what stuck with me was Edward G. Robinson's death scene. He goes to a euthanasia clinic where they show you beautiful images of nature while classical music plays. Because in this future, real nature is gone. It was Robinson's last film. He died just 12 days after filming Wrapped. The whole theater was silent during that scene. Even the usual popcorn munchers stopped eating. The way they showed that bright, natural world contrasting with the grim, crowded city, powerful stuff.
Lives in a fortress. The last man on Earth.
The Omega Man, 1971, has been overshadowed by other adaptations of I Am Legend. But Charlton Heston's version really captures that gritty 70s feel. I remember the first time those albino mutants appeared on screen. The whole theater gasped. There's this scene where Heston's watching Woodstock in an empty theater, reciting the dialogue from memory, and you just feel the crushing loneliness of being the last normal human alive. The scenes of empty Los Angeles streets weren't special effects. They just filmed early on Sunday mornings. Rosalind Cash was such a powerful presence as Lisa, and their interracial relationship was pretty groundbreaking for the time. Every time I drive through an empty city at night, I still think about those eerie shots of Heston cruising through deserted streets in his convertible.
Colossus is the ultimate in sophisticated computers.
Good night.
Colossus. The Forbin Project, 1970, was warning us about AE before it became cool. Eric Braeden plays this brilliant scientist who creates a supercomputer to control America's nuclear arsenal. Then we find out the Soviets have built one too. And, well, things get complicated when the computers start talking to each other. The way they showed computer technology back then, all blinking lights and printer readouts, somehow made it more ominous. My friend Mark worked with computers back then, and he couldn't sleep for days after watching it. The scenes where Colossus starts monitoring everyone through security cameras felt scarily plausible. It's wild how many of the film's warnings about artificial intelligence still resonate today.
Is kind.
Tell him Benson is missing and then get hospital security.
The Terminal Man, 1974, haunted me for weeks after seeing it. George Siegel plays this computer scientist who gets electrodes implanted in his brain to control his seizures. Mike Hodges directed it with this clinical, detached style that makes everything more disturbing. The stark white hospital corridors, the cold blue lighting, the way they showed the electrode implantation surgery in such detail. I remember gripping my armrest during those scenes. They used real medical footage and actual surgical tools to make it feel authentic. There's this devastating scene where Siegel's character realizes the computer in his brain is starting to take control, and you can see the terror in his eyes. Joan Hackett is heartbreaking as the psychiatrist trying to help him. The whole thing feels like a warning about mixing human consciousness with computer control.
Where we'll take her.
Letty Carol.
Baby! Baby!
ZPG, Zero Population Growth, 1972. Really got under my skin. Set in a polluted future where having babies is banned for 30 years, Oliver Reed and Geraldine Chaplin play a couple who break the law by having a child. The way they showed this suffocating world, where people satisfy their parental instincts with creepy robot dolls, it's disturbing in a way glossier films never manage. The scenes of them trying to hide their baby, knowing their neighbors might turn them in for the reward, had everyone in the theater holding their breath. The smog-filled streets and underground living quarters felt unnervingly possible. I remember walking out of the theater and being grateful for every breath of fresh air. The film's message about overpopulation and environmental destruction hits even harder now.
What are you doing? No! I'm a human.
Where fantasies are real and reality.
Message from Space, 1978, was Japan's answer to Star Wars. And what an answer it was. Directed by Kinji Fukasaku, it's this wild space opera based on a Japanese folktale about 8 warriors in space. The special effects might look cheesy now, but back then, those miniature spaceships with their glowing energy weapons were something else. Vic Morrow shows up in this international cast, adding this weird East meets West vibe. I remember watching it at a late-night double feature, everyone in the audience getting more and more into its bizarre charm. Those glowing space seeds that choose the warriors. The scene where they light up in space like cosmic fireflies, pure visual poetry. The battle sequences had this unique style that was totally different from American sci-fi. Pause right here and tell us what forgotten 70s sci-fi films we might have missed. We're always looking for new discoveries.
Echo Crisis or whatever it is. Oh, God.
Idaho Transfer, 1973. Was directed by Peter Fonda, and it's nothing like what you'd expect. These young scientists discover time travel, but can only send young people's consciousness forward in time. The whole thing was filmed in this stark Idaho desert landscape that makes it feel like another planet. They used mostly unknown actors and shot it documentary style, which made it feel more real somehow. The scene where they realize what's happened to future Earth, no spoilers, but it gave me chills. The way they handled time travel was so different from other films, focusing on the psychological impact rather than special effects. I remember debating with friends for hours about the ending. The environmental message wasn't subtle, but in 1973, it felt like a wake-up call. Welcome to Blood City, 1977. Was this weird mix of Western and sci-fi that shouldn't work, but somehow does. Jack Palance and Keir Dullea are trapped in this old West town that turns out to be a psychological experiment. The reveal that they're actually candidates for a future police force. Man, that blew my mind. The way they gradually discover the truth about their situation, with these subtle sci-fi elements creeping into the Western setting, it was like nothing else I'd seen. Some of the violence was pretty shocking for the time. I remember this one scene where the simulation glitches and you see the modern world bleeding through. It's still effective. Samantha Eggar brought this great intensity to her role as a psychologist studying the subjects. The Shape of Things to Come, 1979, tried to cash in on the Star Wars craze, but it's actually based on H.G. Wells's novel. Jack Palance chews the scenery as the robot controlling villain, and watching him glide around in those ridiculous futuristic costumes is a joy. The space stations and moonscapes were clearly miniatures, but they had this handcrafted charm you just don't get with CGI. The robot designs were pure 70s, all angles and blinking lights. I saw this at a drive-in during a summer heat wave. Everyone sitting on their cars under the stars while watching space battles. The laser gun sound effects still make me laugh. They basically use the same zapping noise for everything. My friend Tommy was convinced the moon base was made from painted shower curtain rings. And you know what? He might have been right. If you're the kind of person who still gets excited about practical effects and ambitious low-budget filmmaking, you're our kind of people. Subscribe and let's celebrate these forgotten classics together.
Come look, Frank.
The final program, 1973, is what you'd get if you threw James Bond, psychedelic rock, and apocalyptic sci-fi into a blender. John Finch plays Jerry Cornelius, this ultra-cool scientist assassin type in a world that's falling apart at the seams. The whole thing looked like a fashion magazine from Mars. All these gorgeous, bizarre costumes and sets that screamed early 70s excess. I remember sitting in this tiny art house theater, watching Cornelius stride through these incredible mod interiors while the world outside crumbled. The scene with the pinball machine that controls reality? Pure madness, but in the best way possible. Jenny Runeker practically stole the show as Miss Bruner, and when she and Jerry finally merge into the new Messiah, well, let's just say it's something you don't forget. Director Robert Fuest brought the same weird energy he had from the Avengers TV series.
Dose than usual and slept right through to this morning.
Remember.
You're hurting me! You shouted someone's name!
Footprints on the Moon, 1975, or L'Orme in Italian, is this haunting psychological sci-fi that most people missed. Florinda Bolkan plays a woman who loses 3 days of her memory and finds mysterious photos of herself on the moon. Klaus Kinski shows up in this creepy role that still gives me nightmares. The way they blend reality and imagination, never quite letting you know what's real. It's masterful. I caught this at an art house theater that usually showed foreign films, and the audience was dead silent throughout. Those scenes of her walking through empty streets, following clues to her lost memories, have this dreamlike quality. The score by Nicola Piovani makes everything feel like a beautiful nightmare. The moon landing footage mixed with surreal imagery, pure art.
His name is Questor. He is...
Well, assure me that nuclear fusion cannot be triggered to all...
The Questor tapes, 1974, was Gene Roddenberry's attempt at launching another sci-fi series after Star Trek. Robert Foxworth plays this android searching for his creator while learning about humanity. The pilot film was all we got, but man, what a concept. The scene where Questor discovers he's not human. You could hear a pin drop in the theater. Mike Farrell plays his human companion, and their friendship felt so genuine. The way they handled Questor's growing emotions while maintaining his logical nature was brilliant. There's this great scene where he has to choose between pure logic and human compassion. Really made you think about what makes us human. The special effects for Questor's internal mechanics were pretty innovative for TV back then. All glowing circuits and pulsing lights.
Attempt a journey into the unknown. Of nature gone wild.
Damnation Alley, 1977, has such a special place in my heart. Based on Roger Zelazny's novel, it follows these military survivors crossing a post-apocalyptic America in this massive armored vehicle called the Landmaster. That 12-wheeled beast was real, by the way. They actually built it. Jan Michael Vincent and George Pepper battle giant scorpions and killer cockroaches while driving through these crazy radiation storms. The sky effects were supposed to be spectacular, but the studio messed up the processing. Still, those swirling kaleidoscope skies added to the weirdness. I saw this with my dad when it came out, and we spent weeks afterward drawing designs for our own survival vehicles. The scene where they drive through Salt Lake City with all those floods and mutant creatures, pure 70s apocalyptic gold. Funny how it opened just after Star Wars and got completely overshadowed. You know what's funny? These movies might not have had the biggest budgets or the fanciest effects, but they had heart. They had ideas. Each one was trying to tell us something about who we were, who we might become. Sure, some of them look dated now, but that's part of their charm. They're like time capsules of our hopes and fears about the future. A future that's now our past.
Give us a sign.
Get the son of a... Davey, can't go through this again. Don't you understand English, toad face?
Good women.
I like her.
I'll take that bet.
Columbia Pictures presents Outer Space as you've never seen it.
Let's start with Space Hunter, Adventures in the Forbidden Zone from 1983. This movie captured everything amazing about 80s sci-fi. Peter Strauss stars as a bounty hunter searching for 3 women on a post-apocalyptic planet. The film features incredible practical effects and set designs that truly transport you to another world. Michael Ironside delivers an unforgettable performance as Overdog, a cyborg villain who rules this wasteland. The movie blends action, adventure, and that special kind of 80s creativity that made science fiction so exciting during this era. Every scene feels like a new discovery, from the dangerous wastelands to the neon-lit underground cities. While it might not have the polish of bigger budget films, it has an undeniable charm that makes it endlessly rewatchable. Looking for the perfect holiday gifts or a new addition to your movie collection? Check out the links in the description for exclusive Christmas-themed products and a selection of Sci-Fi film discs. Don't miss out on these amazing deals to bring some festive spirit to your home or dive into a world of futuristic adventures.
And they've got great sushi.
The 1984 release. The Ice Pirates takes a completely different approach to space adventure. Robert Urich leads a crew of water thieves in a future where H2O is the most valuable resource in the galaxy. The movie brilliantly balances action and comedy, featuring everything from space swashbuckling to robot workers. The practical effects and model work create a unique visual style that perfectly captures that distinctive 80s sci-fi atmosphere. What makes this film special is how it never takes itself too seriously, while still delivering genuine thrills. The chemistry between the cast members shines through in every scene, making the silly moments land perfectly. This is exactly the kind of movie that made staying up late watching television so rewarding. Before we continue our journey through these forgotten classics, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more nostalgic deep dives into science fiction history. What's your favorite underrated 80s sci-fi movie? Share your memories in the comments below.
The Assassin Ball.
Metal Storm, The Destruction of Jared Sin from 1983, showcases the peak of early 80s 3D filmmaking. Jeffrey Byron plays Dogen, a peacekeeper tracking down the evil warlord Jared Sin across a post-apocalyptic desert world. The movie packs in everything from laser battles to mystical crystals and chrome-plated vehicles. What makes this film special is its ambitious vision despite budget constraints. The practical effects team created an incredible array of creatures and vehicles that feel totally unique. Director Charles Band gave us some truly memorable sequences, especially the high-speed desert chases that still get your heart racing. While the story might be a bit confusing at times, the sheer creativity and energy make up for it. This movie perfectly captures that feeling of discovering something wild and different on late-night television.
Get you something to drink, brother?
The white people disappear?
125th Street next.
That was fantastic.
The Brother from Another Planet, released in 1984, takes an entirely fresh approach to alien visitor stories. Joe Morton stars as an extraterrestrial who crash lands in Harlem, navigating his new world without speaking a word. Writer-director John Sayles crafts a fascinating exploration of social issues through the lens of science fiction. The movie succeeds because it focuses on human connections rather than special effects. Morton's expressive performance conveys so much emotion without dialogue, creating unforgettable moments as his character experiences both kindness and prejudice. The way the film blends science fiction elements with real-world issues makes it stand out from other alien movies of the era. It proves that great sci-fi doesn't need huge budgets or elaborate effects to tell a powerful story.
If you think I'm bringing that...
Trancers, arriving in 1984, delivers a unique spin on time travel and detective stories. Tim Thomerson plays Jack Death, a future cop who travels back in time to 1980s Los Angeles to stop a sinister plot. The movie creates its own mythology with concepts like trancers, people turned into zombie-like followers by the villainous Whistler. What makes this film special is how it combines film noir elements with science fiction, creating a distinctive atmosphere all its own. Thomerson's deadpan delivery and the fish-out-of-water humor work perfectly with the serious action elements. The movie spawned several sequels, but the original captures lightning in a bottle with its blend of genres and clever use of its modest budget. The Los Angeles locations add authenticity to this tale of future crime.
You want to hook me up to this robot and stimulate.
Android from 1982 tells the story of Max 404, an android brilliantly played by Klaus Kinski, who works on a remote space station with his creator. The arrival of 3 fugitives disrupts their isolation and triggers Max's growing desire to be more human. This thoughtful film explores deep questions about consciousness and humanity while maintaining an engaging narrative. The production design creates a believable future world through clever use of lighting and practical effects. What sets this movie apart is its focus on character development rather than action sequences. The relationship between Max and the female fugitive brings unexpected emotional depth to the story. While other sci-fi films of the era focused on spectacle, Android delivers a more intimate and philosophical experience. Here's a fun one. If you were the last person on Earth, like in these post-apocalyptic films, which mall would you raid first? Let me know in the comments.
God! Joe!
Extro, released in 1983, stands as one of the most unique alien films of the decade. This British sci-fi horror follows a father who returns home 3 years after being abducted by aliens. But something about him has changed dramatically. The movie takes unexpected turns at every opportunity, featuring some of the most memorable practical effects of the era. Unlike typical alien invasion stories, Extro focuses on personal horror and family dynamics. The transformation sequences still shock viewers today, created with practical effects that hold up surprisingly well. Director Harry Bromley Davenport crafted something truly original here, blending domestic drama with cosmic horror in ways we had never seen before. The synth-heavy score adds to the otherworldly atmosphere, creating a sense of unease that stays with you long after watching.
Please contact me at home.
The Quiet Earth from 1985 shows us the aftermath of a scientific experiment gone wrong through the eyes of Zach, a scientist who wakes up to find himself apparently alone in the world. This New Zealand film brings a thoughtful approach to apocalyptic science fiction. The empty cities and deserted landscapes create a haunting atmosphere that few other films have matched. Bruno Lawrence delivers an incredible performance as a man struggling with isolation and guilt. When other survivors finally appear, the story explores complex themes of responsibility and human nature. The movie builds to one of the most discussed and debated endings in science fiction history. What sets this film apart is its focus on character development and philosophical questions, rather than typical post-apocalyptic action.
We're talking Ghost Town!
Who would you see it? Ready to find out, because the comet is coming.
Night of the Comet, 1984, delivers a fresh take on end-of-the-world scenarios. When a comet passes Earth, most of humanity is turned to red dust, leaving teenage sisters Regina and Samantha among the few survivors. Catherine Mary Stewart and Kelly Maroney bring genuine charm to their roles as Valley Girls facing the apocalypse. The movie perfectly balances horror, science fiction, and comedy elements with a distinctly 80s sensibility. The empty Los Angeles locations create an eerie backdrop for their adventures, while the threat of zombie-like survivors adds tension to their shopping sprees. What makes this film special is how it maintains a sense of fun while still delivering genuine scares and science fiction concepts. The sister relationship at the core of the story gives emotional weight to the quirky scenario. Quick pause? What's the most unconventional alien movie you've ever seen? Drop your answer in the comments. I bet there are some wild ones out there. Life Force, directed by Tobe Hooper in 1985, combines space exploration, vampires, and apocalyptic disaster into something truly unique. Based on Colin Wilson's novel, the film follows astronauts who discover a massive alien spacecraft hiding in Halley's Comet. They bring back 3 humanoid creatures, unleashing a cosmic vampire plague on London. The practical effects and ambitious scope create spectacular sequences of citywide chaos. Mathilda May's memorable performance as the space vampire and Steve Railsback's intense portrayal of the obsessed astronaut anchor the wild story in genuine emotion. The movie features incredible practical effects work, especially during the soul-draining sequences. Henry Mancini's score elevates every scene with epic orchestral themes. While initially misunderstood, this film has gained appreciation for its bold mixing of genres.
DEFCON 2. The Star Wars technology of the future.
DEFCON 4 from 1985 shows us the aftermath of nuclear war from an unusual perspective. Astronauts trapped in orbit watching the destruction unfold below. When they finally return to Earth, they find a drastically changed world. The film creates genuine tension as we follow the astronauts' helpless observation of the war from space, then throws them into a dangerous post-apocalyptic landscape. The contrast between the clinical space station environment and the chaotic ground situations works perfectly. What makes this movie stand out is how it combines Cold War fears with post-apocalyptic survival drama. The practical effects and location shooting give everything a gritty realism that serves the story well. While working with a modest budget, the filmmakers created memorable characters and situations that rise above typical post-nuclear scenarios.
His suspicion will change. And with that friendship...
Enemy Mine, released in 1985, explores themes of friendship across seemingly impossible boundaries. Wolfgang Peterson directs this story of a human fighter pilot and his alien enemy forced to survive together on a hostile planet. Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. deliver powerful performances that transcend the incredible alien makeup. The practical effects create a believable alien world, while the relationship between the two characters develops naturally and believably. What makes this film special is its focus on breaking down prejudices and finding common ground. The makeup effects that transform Gossett into the alien Jeriba remain impressive today, allowing his emotional performance to shine through. While the film wasn't a huge success on release, its message of understanding and cooperation across differences resonates even more strongly now. Think about your favorite unlikely friendship in sci-fi. Share it in the comments. It doesn't have to be from the 80s. We just love hearing your picks.
We're all professionals.
I'm sure we are.
What's that guy think he's doing?
Outland from 1981 brings us High Noon in Space, with Sean Connery as a marshal investigating mysterious deaths at a mining colony on Jupiter's moon Io. Director Peter Hyams creates a gritty, industrial future that feels lived in and real. The film uses its science fiction setting to tell a compelling story about corruption and standing alone against the system. The practical effects and model work create a convincing space mining colony, while the tension builds steadily to an explosive climax. What makes this movie special is how it grounds its science fiction elements in relatable human drama. The depiction of corporate greed and worker exploitation in space feels particularly relevant. Connery brings gravity to his role as Marshall O'Neill, creating a believable character trying to maintain law in the lawless frontier of space.
Now an army!
Krull, arriving in 1983, combines science fiction with fantasy in a unique way. The story follows Prince Colwyn's quest to rescue his bride from the Beast and his army of slayers using the magical five-pointed glaive. Ken Marshall leads a cast that includes early appearances by Liam Neeson and Robbie Coltrane. The film features incredible practical sets and effects, creating a world where high technology and magic coexist. James Horner's sweeping musical score adds epic grandeur to every scene. What makes this film special is its ambitious blending of genres. Laser weapons alongside magical powers, space fortresses next to mystical locations. The Slayer's shape-shifting abilities and teleporting Black Fortress create memorable sequences. While not a huge success on release, the movie's creativity and visual imagination have earned it a devoted following.
A little secret.
I led them right to you.
Strange Invaders from 1983 pays homage to 1950s alien invasion films while adding its own modern twist. Paul Le Mat stars as a professor searching for his ex-wife in a small town that's hiding an otherworldly secret. The movie cleverly updates classic science fiction tropes for 80s audiences, mixing nostalgia with contemporary special effects. Director Michael Laughlin creates genuine suspense as the truth about the mysterious town slowly emerges. The practical effects for the alien reveals still impress today, using traditional techniques to create memorable transformations. What makes this film special is how it balances homage to classic sci-fi with its own unique identity. The cast, including Nancy Allen and Louise Fletcher, brings depth to their roles. The movie captures both the innocence of 50s science fiction and the darker edge of 80s filmmaking.
It's on the page 1. See? Oh, yeah.
Cinematic experience, it's the make.
Time Bandits from 1981 wraps up our journey with Terry Gilliam's wildly imaginative tale of time-traveling dwarves stealing treasures throughout history. While not strictly traditional science fiction, this genre-bending adventure uses time travel and technology in fascinating ways. Young Craig Warnock plays Kevin, who joins the bandits on their cosmic adventures while exploring fundamental questions about good, evil, and the nature of reality. The practical effects and elaborate sets create unique worlds for each time period. What makes this film special is Gilliam's boundless creativity and willingness to tackle big ideas within an entertaining adventure. The cast includes memorable performances from John Cleese, Sean Connery, and David Warner as Evil. While marketed as a family film, it contains deeper themes that reward repeated viewing. The movie demonstrates how science fiction elements can enhance storytelling in unexpected ways. Question time. Which forgotten 80s movie scared you the most as a kid? Let's swap some trauma in the comments below.
They were more like thoughts.
Now that someone has.
Wavelength from 1983 delivers a unique take on alien contact and government conspiracy. The story follows Bobby and Iris, who discover mysterious experiments at a military facility involving sound frequencies and alien beings. The film creates genuine tension through its use of sound and unconventional storytelling. Robert Carradine and Cherie Curry bring authenticity to their roles as musicians drawn into a situation beyond their understanding. What makes this movie special is its atmospheric approach to science fiction, using sound waves and frequency manipulation as key plot elements. The practical effects create memorable sequences, especially during the climactic rescue attempt. Director Mike Gray, known for the China Syndrome, brings a documentary-like feel to the proceedings. The film stands out for tackling serious themes about government control and human experimentation, while maintaining its science fiction elements.
I believe that you believe it.
The Philadelphia Experiment, released in 1984, takes inspiration from urban legends about a real World War II military experiment. Michael Pere stars as a sailor from 1943 who finds himself transported to 1984 when a military experiment goes wrong. The film brilliantly handles its fish-out-of-water story while maintaining genuine tension. The time travel effects may be simple by today's standards, but they serve the story perfectly. Nancy Allen brings warmth to her role as the modern woman who helps our displaced hero. What makes this film special is how it balances character development with science fiction concepts. The movie explores the human cost of military experiments while creating a compelling romance across time. Director Stuart Raffel crafts several memorable sequences, especially the initial time displacement and its devastating effects.
Never expected.
Is anybody here?
And suddenly, those who had...
Creature from 1985, also known as Titan Find, combines classic monster movie elements with space exploration horror. When American and German scientific teams discover an ancient alien facility on Titan, they unleash something deadly. Klaus Kinski brings his unique intensity to the role of a German scientist, while Stan Ivar and Wendy Schall create believable characters facing an impossible situation. The practical creature effects deliver genuine scares, while the sets create a claustrophobic atmosphere perfect for this type of story. What makes this film special is its commitment to building tension before revealing its monster. The movie pays homage to classic science fiction horror while adding its own unique elements. The international cast adds complexity to the standard group dynamics, while the isolated setting builds genuine suspense.
To seek.
There's something in the corridor.
To hunt.
Moontrap from 1989 stars Walter Koenig and Bruce Campbell as astronauts who discover an ancient alien machine on the moon. The film combines elements of space exploration with robot horror in unique ways. The model work and practical effects create convincing space sequences that still impress today. What makes this movie special is its blend of traditional space adventure with horror elements. The discovery of ancient technology on the moon leads to increasingly dangerous situations as artificial life forms begin to pose a threat. The chemistry between Koenig and Campbell helps ground the fantastic elements in relatable human reactions. The film creates genuine tension through its isolated lunar setting and the mysterious nature of the alien technology. The practical robot effects give the threats a tangible quality that CGI often struggles to match.
And the face and touch of the man.
How much English do you understand?
I understand Greek.
Starman from 1984 gives us John Carpenter's gentle take on alien visitation. Jeff Bridges earned an Academy Award nomination for his portrayal of an alien using a dead man's DNA to create a human form. Karen Allen delivers an emotionally rich performance as the widow who must help this copy of her husband escape government pursuit. What makes this film special is its focus on human connection, rather than typical alien invasion tropes. Bridges creates an unforgettable character through subtle mannerisms that suggest alien intelligence learning to be human. The road trip structure allows for both intimate character moments and larger-scale adventure. Carpenter brings his masterful directing style to a more emotional story than his usual fare. The film stands out for its optimistic view of alien contact and its exploration of what it means to be human.
I'm not gonna die for nothing.
They're destroying the surface world. I know.
Take this brain out.
They alive?
No one knows. They make themselves now.
Screamers, 1995, delivers everything great about mid-90s science fiction. Peter Weller stars as Colonel Hendrickson, investigating mysterious attacks on a mining colony. The practical effects create these terrifying autonomous weapons that burrow through the ground, hunting with a distinctive high-pitched scream. Director Christian Duguay captures the isolation of this frozen wasteland perfectly, while the paranoid atmosphere keeps you guessing about who's really human. The movie adapts Philip K. Dick's short story, Second Variety, with a clever mix of psychological thriller and monster movie elements. Those blade-wielding robots still haunt my dreams, especially during winter storms, when the wind makes that eerie howling sound.
Get ready for
Hardware, 1990, brings us one of the most unique indie science fiction visions of the decade. Director Richard Stanley creates a claustrophobic nightmare where artist Jill, played by Stacey Travis, faces off against a self-repairing military robot in her apartment. The movie oozes atmosphere with its neon-soaked visuals and intense industrial soundtrack, featuring Ministry and Public Image Limited. What makes this film special is how it transforms a simple premise into something truly unsettling. The Mark 13 robot keeps rebuilding itself using whatever it finds, creating this relentless game of survival. The practical effects still impress today, while the environmental themes feel more relevant than ever. Every time I see a pile of electronic junk, I can't help but wonder if it might start reassembling itself. If you're enjoying this journey through forgotten classics, give this video a thumbs up and share your scariest robot movie moments in the comments.
For one woman.
Mind Warp, 1992, stars Bruce Campbell in a dystopian future where most humans escape reality through a virtual system called In-World. When our heroine discovers the truth about the wasteland outside, we're thrown into a brutal adventure filled with mutants and dark secrets. The KNB effects team delivers some truly grotesque creatures that stick in your memory. Angus Scrim brings gravitas as the sinister overseer, while Campbell's characteristic charm helps balance the darker elements. The mix of virtual reality concepts with post-apocalyptic action creates something unique for its time. The practical effects and underground sets give everything this tangible, gritty quality that modern CGI can't quite match. Don't miss our exclusive holiday deals. Click the links below in description to find the perfect Christmas gifts, from festive decor to must-have sci-fi movie collections. Bring joy to your home and embark on thrilling, futuristic adventures with these limited-time offers. Shop now before they're gone.
And his new partner.
I work alone.
Maybe. But one thing's for certain.
Split Second, 1992, drops Rutger Hauer into a flooded future London as a hardened police detective hunting a mysterious creature. The whole movie drips with atmosphere, literally since rising sea levels have turned the city into this dark, wet maze of abandoned buildings. Director Tony Maylam creates this perfect mix of science fiction and horror, while Hauer brings his unique intensity to Detective Harley Stone. The creature design keeps you guessing until the final reveal, using shadows and quick glimpses to build tension. Kim Cattrall adds great chemistry as the by-the-book partner thrown into this nightmare. Every time it rains, I think about those flooded London tunnels and whatever's lurking in them.
Fight, trying to become the only man.
Robot Jocks, 1990, gives us giant robots done with practical effects, and there's something magical about that. Director Stuart Gordon brings us this post-apocalyptic world where international disputes are settled by massive mechanical gladiators. Gary Graham plays Achilles, our reluctant robot pilot facing off against the ruthless Alexander. The stop-motion effects by David Allen give the robot battles this incredible weight and texture that CGI still struggles to match. The chest-pound salute became this iconic moment that my friends and I would imitate for months. The film captures that perfect blend of serious world building and pure spectacle that made 90s science fiction so special. Who else practiced that robot jock salute? Share your favorite practical effects moments in the comments.
This shit is pure.
They'll bring you a fortune in
here on a desperate flight for freedom.
Circuitry Man, 1990, takes us on this wild cyberpunk road trip across a post-apocalyptic America. Jim Metzler and Dana Wheeler-Nicholson star as smugglers trying to deliver brain-enhancing chips while being pursued by the menacing Plughead, played with electric intensity by Vernon Wells. The neon-soaked visuals and practical effects create this unique world where everything looks like it was built from salvage tech. Director Stephen Lovey captures that distinctive early 90s cyberpunk vibe, complete with glowing body modifications and underground data highways. The chemistry between our leads makes their desperate journey feel real, while Wells creates one of the decade's most memorable villains. APEX, 1994, brings us time travel with a terrifying twist. Richard Keats plays a scientist whose temporal experiment accidentally creates an army of killer robots in an alternate timeline. The film tackles complex time travel concepts while delivering solid action sequences. Director Philip Roth makes clever use of his budget, creating convincing future tech and robot designs through practical effects. Mitchell Cox brings menacing presence as the lead robot, while Lisa Ann Russell provides emotional grounding as the love interest from another timeline. The way it explores the consequences of changing the past feels surprisingly fresh, especially when our hero has to face versions of himself from different timelines.
He stands for truth.
He's a cop, all right.
In the human condition alone.
Nemesis, 1992, showcases the incredible physical performance of Olivier Gruner as Alex, a cyborg cop hunting terrorists in a chrome-plated future Los Angeles. Director Albert Pyun delivers non-stop action with a uniquely cyberpunk style, mixing martial arts with explosive gunfights. The practical effects for the cyborg transformations still look impressive today, especially during those moments when characters literally tear themselves apart to reveal their mechanical nature. Tim Thomerson brings his reliable character work as the commissioner with hidden motives, while Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa makes a memorable villain. The film's exploration of humanity in an increasingly mechanical world feels ahead of its time. Quick break. What's your dream cyborg upgrade? Let us know in the comments below.
And the only hope is an ex-cop.
The 2000X.
TC2000, 1993, combines martial arts and cyberpunk in this underground future, where Billy Blanks plays a police officer who becomes an experimental cyborg warrior. Director T.J. Scott creates intense fight sequences that showcase Blank's incredible martial arts skills. Bolo Young brings his imposing presence as the main antagonist, while Bobby Phillips adds depth as a resistance fighter. The underground setting gives everything this gritty, industrial feel that perfectly matches the cyberpunk aesthetic. The practical effects for the cyborg enhancements might look dated, but they have this tangible quality that makes the action feel more impactful. The training sequences where Blanks learns to use his new abilities are particularly memorable.
Her name is Casella Reese. The training, anger, sexuality.
Cyborg 2, 1993, stars Angelina Jolie in her first leading role as Cash, an advanced android trying to escape her creators. Director Michael Schroeder builds this fascinating world where cyborgs are used for corporate espionage and warfare. Elias Koteas brings complexity as Cash's human protector, while Jack Palance delivers a delightfully eccentric performance as her creator. The practical effects for the android glass downloading sequences create some genuinely unsettling moments. The way the film explores questions of consciousness and identity through its cyborg characters feels surprisingly sophisticated for what could have been a simple action movie. If you're enjoying this deep dive into forgotten classics, Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.
Iris weapon.
If that unit could get...
Digital Man, 1995, features Paul Gleason as an Army colonel dealing with a malfunctioning military android that's threatening a small town. Director Philip Roth makes effective use of his budget, creating tense action sequences and impressive practical effects for the android's transformations. Don Wilson brings physical presence to the role of the Digital Man, while Kristen Dalton adds heart as a local caught in the chaos. The desert setting provides a stark backdrop for the chrome and steel of the android threat. Those scenes where the Digital Man repairs itself using local technology still give me chills. I couldn't look at my microwave the same way for weeks.
Get him out there.
Whoever's out there is going to get killed.
Probably not up here.
Solar Crisis, 1990, brings together an impressive cast including Tim Matheson, Charlton Heston, and Peter Boyle in this story about astronauts trying to save Earth from a massive solar flare. Director Richard Sarafian crafts some genuinely spectacular space sequences using practical effects and models. The film captures that sense of cosmic scale that made 90s science fiction so ambitious. The scenes of the ship approaching the sun create real tension, while the practical effects for the solar activity still impress today. Even though it didn't get much attention on release, the film's environmental themes feel more relevant than ever.
Beyond.
I'll make sure they know who really...
Mandroid, 1993, takes us into the world of Eastern European scientific experiments gone wrong. Brian Cousins plays the scientist whose robotic creation turns against him, while Robert Simons brings gravitas as the mysterious Dr. Zimmer. Director Jack Ayersgard creates this atmospheric tale of betrayal and technology run amok. The practical effects for the Mandroid suit give it this tangible presence that modern CGI often lacks. Those scenes in the ancient castle laboratory perfectly capture that mad scientist vibe that made 90s direct-to-video science fiction so entertaining. Before we continue, what's your favorite obscure movie soundtrack? Share in the comments below.
Is now a monster.
I'm warning you. Don't
Herself.
Prototype X 29A 1992 delivers a unique take on military robotics. Kyle Chandler stars as an Air Force pilot testing a new cybernetic flight system that starts developing its own consciousness. Director Philip Roth creates genuine tension as the boundaries between human and machine consciousness blur. The practical effects for the neural interface sequences still create unsettling moments, while the fighter jet scenes use clever model work. The underground testing facility sets establish this claustrophobic atmosphere that makes the technological horror feel more immediate. Robert Tosberg brings gravitas as the project director hiding dark secrets about the program's true purpose.
27 teacher fatalities.
The class of 1999-1990 imagines a future where robotic teachers are sent into violent high schools. Director Mark Lester builds on his class of 1984 with this science fiction twist, featuring Pam Grier, Stacy Keach, and Malcolm McDowell as androids, enforcing discipline with extreme prejudice. The practical effects for the teachers' transformations create some genuinely shocking moments. Bradley Gregg and Tracy Lind bring real heart to their roles as students caught between gang violence and homicidal robots. Those scenes where the teachers malfunction during class still give me nightmares about high school. If you're loving these deep dives into forgotten classics, smash that like button and hit subscribe.
A rebellion against British rule.
You'll return, Commander Tunis.
Total Reality, 1997, throws us into a future where virtual reality training creates perfect soldiers. David Bradley leads a rebellion against the military-industrial complex, using their own simulation technology against them. Director Philip Roth makes creative use of his budget, switching between gritty real-world sequences and stylized virtual combat. The practical effects for the neural interface gear have this distinctive 90s cyberpunk aesthetic. Sarah Dampf brings complexity to her role as a programmer, questioning the ethics of her work. Those moments when reality starts breaking down for the characters really capture that late 90s techno-paranoia.
Nobody in particular.
American Cyborg, Steel Warrior, 1993, takes place in a post-apocalyptic 2017, where a woman carries humanity's last hope for survival, a human embryo. Joe Lara stars as Austin, a mysterious protector fighting against a relentless cyborg hunter. Director Boaz Davidson creates intense chase sequences through destroyed urban landscapes. The practical effects for the cyborg's transformations hold up surprisingly well, especially during the final confrontation. Nicole Hansen brings determination to her role as Mary, while John St. Ryan makes a memorably menacing machine. The film captures that perfect blend of action and science fiction that defined early 90s genre films. Cybertracker, 1994, features Don the Dragon Wilson as a security officer who discovers his company's robotic law enforcement program has sinister purposes. Director Richard Pippin delivers non-stop action as Wilson faces off against perfectly replicated cyborg duplicates. The practical effects for the tracker units create these intimidating chrome-plated adversaries. Richard Norton brings martial arts expertise as a rival security chief, while Stacey Foster adds depth as an investigative reporter helping expose the conspiracy. Those sequences where the trackers hunt their targets through office buildings completely changed how I felt about working late at the office. Quick question: which 90s action star would you want protecting you from killer robots? Let us know in the comments.
Tell us what it is you want. $50 million. You're just excess baggage.
Project Shadow Chaser, 1992. Features Martin Kove as a police officer trapped in a high-tech hospital with a malfunctioning android during a hostage crisis. Director John Ayers creates claustrophobic tension in the confined setting, while Frank Zagarino brings inhuman precision to his role as the android. The practical effects for the robot's damage and repair sequences create genuine unease, especially when it starts adapting to damage by repurposing medical equipment. Paul Koslow adds gravitas as the project director whose creation spirals out of control, forcing him to confront the consequences of playing God. The hospital setting turns everyday medical equipment into potential weapons, making the familiar feel threatening. Those emergency room scenes completely changed how I felt about hospital visits, especially when machines start beeping in the middle of the night.
You are no match for me. That's what the others need. They can't hurt us.
Knights, 1993, takes us into a post-apocalyptic world where cyborg warriors hunt the last humans for sport and resources. Chris Christopherson brings weathered charm as Gabriel, a mysterious fighter protecting a young man with a powerful secret that could change the balance between man and machine. Director Albert Pyun crafts intense sword fights between humans and machines, creating this unique blend of medieval combat and futuristic technology. The practical effects for the cyborg transformations use clever mechanical designs and hydraulics that make each reveal feel shocking and real. Lance Henriksen delivers a memorably sinister performance as the lead cyborg, bringing cold calculation to every scene. The desert wastelands and abandoned industrial locations create this perfect backdrop for chrome-plated warriors clashing with steel blades. Remember to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying these forgotten gems. Every like helps more people discover these hidden classics.
Of a human being. I've killed your kind before.
The only one who can save us. Thanks.
Omega Doom, 1996. Stars Rutger Hauer as a reprogrammed android warrior in a post-apocalyptic world, divided between rival robot factions fighting for power and resources. Director Albert Pyun creates this fascinating blend of Western and science fiction themes, with Hauer bringing his unique screen presence to every calculated move. The practical effects give each robot character distinctive designs, while maintaining a believable worn appearance that suggests years of survival after humanity's fall. Shannon Worry and Anna Katerina bring complexity to their roles as opposing robot leaders, manipulating Hauer's character for their own ends. Those sequences where Hauer methodically outmaneuvers his mechanical opponents remind me of classic gunfighter showdowns, complete with tense standoffs and explosive confrontations.
Не говоря уже о десятилетиях. Но мы можем предполагать. Хотя его разум
Terminal Voyage, 1994, features Stephen Bauer as the captain of Earth's first interstellar mission, leading a crew into the unknown depths of space. Director Rick Jacobson builds tension as the crew discovers their true purpose might be darker than expected, with corporate interests threatening their survival. The practical effects for the ship interiors and space sequences have this distinctive early 90s aesthetic that perfectly captures the isolation of deep space. Emma Sams brings strength to her role as the ship's doctor, uncovering layers of conspiracy, while Brenda Baca adds intensity as a crew member hiding dangerous secrets. The claustrophobic ship setting and growing paranoia create genuine suspense that makes you question everyone's true motives and humanity. Space Marines, 1996, delivers exactly what the title promises. John Piper Ferguson leads an elite unit of Space Marines investigating a distress signal from a seemingly abandoned space station. Director John Widener creates intense action sequences, mixing practical effects with model work that gives the space battles real weight. The Marine armor designs have this believable military aesthetic while still looking distinctively science fiction, with functional details that suggest real combat use. Katie Huffman brings authority to her role as the unit commander dealing with mounting casualties, while Edward Albert adds mystery as a suspicious government agent with hidden motives. Those sequences of Marines clearing derelict ships in zero gravity still create genuine tension, especially when the true threat reveals itself. And there you have it, retro fans! These forgotten gems from the 90s remind us why practical effects and bold storytelling will never go out of style. If you love this journey through sci-fi history, hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. Share your own hidden favorites in the comments. We'd love to feature them in future episodes.